right, gang, we are back. Freshly baked episode of Breakthrough Chronicles. It's been a minute. I've missed you. Hopefully you've missed us as well. And boy, what a way to return to action here than with one of my favorite human beings. I had the fortune, the luxury, the privilege of covering this guy when he was slithering around the football field at Frank Cush Field. The Sun Devil legend himself, Jake Plummer. Jake, so good to see you, my man. Thanks for joining us here on Breakthrough Chronicles.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kevin. It's nice to see you and recollect some of those old times. Of course, slithering around in the desert, man. It was a lot of fun. I'm digging your shirt, man. I like that.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because I thought it was, kind of befitting of the scenario. Now you are coming to us from Idaho. I'm not even going to ask you what the temperature there is because I'm jealous. I thought I would break this out courtesy of our friends at State 48. This is kind of homage to surviving the summer of 2023. And we've delivered our first couple of 110 days here in 2024. So,
oh man, yeah, it's we were all freaking out about 90 plus here in Boise for the camp we have tomorrow, or the camp we're running here this weekend, and yeah, it's the heat is coming whether we want it or not. So be ready, but it's nothing like that valley heat. I say whenever it's hot here, I'm like, this is nothing.
It's just, just like everybody, it's a dry heat. I just keep telling myself that it's a dry heat. I've been out here for 30 plus years. So at this point, it is ingrained into my system. But yeah, I thought I would break this one out today in honor of 110, 113. Nice. Well, it's kind of funny that you're coming to us from Idaho. You're up there where, I guess the legend of Jake Plummer started. You will forever be a Valley God, a hero to so many, and you will always have a place in the hearts of the folks here in the Valley, Cardinals fans. But, it's interesting as you sit there in the very home that you were raised. Take us back to those early days of Jake Plummer, when you were growing up, the mom and dad, your brothers, the family that you were surrounded by. And really, in many ways, the groundwork that it laid for, the man and athlete that you would eventually become.
Yeah, I mean, I was blessed to be born into a really loving family, one that was very close, had a lot of my mom and her older brother and older sister, their kids. We were all really close, so I kind of grew up with a lot of cousins hanging out in the summers. We were always very active. There was never a dull moment. And my mom fed us really well and taught us through her and my grandma, who lived across the street from about the third grade on. The house I'm in now was moved up here in about the third grade. That's when my mom and dad split up. So I lived with my mom, my two older brothers. My grandma lived across the street. She was a devout Seventh-day Adventist. So she was teaching us all the tenets of, the golden rule, really, like treating people right and turn another cheek. If someone's mean to you, that doesn't mean you be mean back. Be kind and try to instill upon us respect for your elders and all of the good stuff you get, from that generation, really. So I was blessed to be raised by a family, of course, that taught respect, but also a lot of love, a lot of good gatherings, a lot of people coming through. We've been dubbed as hippies by some articles back in the day, this hippie family from Idaho. And, whatever hippie stands for, a lot of people can see that and think of, whatever connotation you want on that. If hippie is being, open-minded and loving and always having a open space and helping people out, then yeah, we were hippies. My mom really, never had a closed door to not only my friends and friends of our family, but anybody that really needed help. Same with my grandma. And my dad's family too was around here. So, I had a lot of family, a lot of support. I was the youngest of all of those cousins, the very youngest. So it was tough for me. I had to fight and claw and do my best to hang with my older cousins who I looked up to in such awe. And they were my idols, the guys I wanted to be like my cousin Grant. I wanted to be like my cousin Luke, who was the closest in age to me. I wanted to be around those guys. I loved them so much. And so I always had people to look up to, they were always really good about including me, so long as I wasn't a punk or wasn't complaining, or most times would run off crying to my mom if they were mean to me. But I fought through all that, and in turn got a real you know, competitive soul. I was very competitive because I was always the youngest, always scratching and clawing to be able to hang with my cousins, and most of them were boys. Only had a couple female cousins on that side, my mom's side. So yeah, it was a upbringing of a lot of love, a lot of food, a lot of outdoor and nature, going up into the Sawtooth Mountains, always outside playing. My mom would say, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Here's a broom. Either here or go outside." Boom, I'm out the door. I'm not going to sweep. I'm going to out the door. Get me out of here. So I grew up right at the base of the foothills in Boise. So there was an expanse of places and space to go, ride my bike, go run around in the hills looking for animals and catching snakes and running after, trying to catch a fox, and not like tree forest kind of outdoors. These foothills have no trees. So it was just a good upbringing, a lot of fun, a lot of family, always something happening. And I was blessed to have that. Again, sports was a huge part. My brothers were sports fanatics. You can ask them sports trivia. They know everything. I mean, they know everything you could want to know about anybody from any era, their batting average, how many years they played. So sports was always a huge part of it, and obviously you could see where it translated for me to be very competitive, and not just play football. I mean, I played all the sports growing up, and I still do.
Yeah, it's interesting. The two things that strike me about that, and I felt this when I was covering ASU sports back in the day for what is now Arizona Sports, but I was doing the Sun Devil and pregame and postgame show for football, doing basketball, but I felt the first couple times that I was around you that this is a guy who is grounded. And, between that and, like you say, in many ways, those qualities of leadership that you displayed early at ASU came as a result of the things that you had to do throughout your life. And I'm sure you couldn't have maybe felt it at the time, but as you look back at those days, those experiences with the brothers and the cousins, is that really the foundation where it started for you in terms of the leadership and the willingness to keep grinding and keep fighting?
Yeah, I mean, I looked up to my brothers so much, and they were really my role models. So if there was a funny story about at ASU, when I would throw a bad pass or someone would drop a ball, I would put my hands on my hips and kind of stand there and and after a game, my brothers were like, "Hey, you should stop doing that." I'm like, "Why? What's up?" They're like, "Because you looked like a real, a pouty little, like what?" Like they were just always putting me like in my place in a nice way, in a kind way, trying to help me
What
understand
big,
that people
big
are
brothers,
watching.
siblings do.
Yeah, that's how it goes. And the leadership part, I'm not sure when it actually like really evolved, but uh, I have a memory of back like in the fifth grade or fifth grade, sixth grade, whatever it was at Pierce Park Elementary. We used to go out and play football at recess. We'd play whatever, run out there real quick. We'd get a first captain, second captain. We'd pick teams and then we would play. And I remember always being, one first captain or second captain, or being the first pick if I wasn't one of the captains. And one day after I began to play Pop Warner football on our Optimist team with my best friend at the time, Casey Richards, who was the quarterback for the Phone Works, where I begged my mom during the summer if I could play. And my argument was that I was going to wear pads and it would be safer than even playing at recess when I don't wear pads at all. We're still tackling and hitting the ground. And so I ended up taking his position on the Optimist football team. And so at recess, all the guys, he got them all to be kind of against me and let's pick Jake last. And so they didn't pick me till the very end. And I was like, okay, whatever. The next day I was first captain, and I went ahead and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to pick any of you guys. And I picked all the guys that usually get picked last. And at that point I was like, let's go, let's take these guys on. We can do this. And we ended up being competitive. I don't remember if we won the game, but I these guys were able to raise their level just because I gave them that little bump. And I did a lot of reflecting after my career of when did this leadership ability come into, to me, or how did I get this? What was this? And that was one of the moments where it was like, I realized just giving someone the belief that they can do better, or giving them that little bump they need to feel better about themselves, and saying, hey, we can do this. Let's never give up. We got this. It carried me on through my career in all sports, not just football, but in baseball, in basketball, football, whatever I was playing at the time. I was very good with team. Individual sports, I wasn't the greatest. Like track and field, I was good, but I just didn't. It was hard. But when I could be involved with a team and like motivate them and get them going and say, hey, let's go, let's do this, and like don't ever let them give up, even if the score was what they would feel was unattainable to come back from. That carried me on through my whole career, as noted with a lot of the games we played at ASU, games at the Cardinals, where people were leaving, they went home, and then they were like, oh man, I wish I hadn't left. And like, right, you shouldn't have left. Too bad for you. You missed out on something special. And meantime, I always kept believing. And that really was what carried me through. And I didn't have any leadership, seminars or gurus telling me how to be a leader. When I got to ASU, I just stood up and was like, when I finally started and said, hey, this is a bunch of BS, man. We're a better team than this. And our seniors deserve a chance to go to a bowl game. We shouldn't be losing to Cal. They suck. We're way better. And right there, the seniors were like, yo, this freshman is our guy. Like, he's going to stand up and say that. Let's do this, And so it just carried me through. There was no one telling me how to do this. It was just instinctual. And the fact that I really wanted to win and always put forth my best effort. And then that was kind of contagious as I kept on through my career of just being someone that was very optimistic. One, worked hard, and not harder than the other guy, but just always put forth that effort. And that makes you a leader. I was vocal at times, but sometimes just doing that was enough. Just showing up every morning for mat drills at ASU, being there on time and doing it no matter whether I wanted to or not, doing it as hard as I could. That's what a leader does. And you don't have to be vocal. It's I like to say tone setters, the guys that set the tone every day, whether it's the weight room, whether it's cleaning up the locker room, whether it's getting on the bus on time, whether it's being out at the practice field, or whether it's in the fourth quarter when it's time to like pick it up. The tone setters were the guys like that always just did it. You didn't have to wonder that you could count on them. And being the quarterback, I was obviously the focal point, but also a tone setter. So I was blessed to have that. And also, like you said, being grounded, I was. My brothers, they always like, man, you didn't really treat those guys very nice there getting autographs. I'm like, that's like the 5,000th autograph I've signed, and I just want to go see you guys. Like, I'm going to have to spin somebody at some point, but they were always watching from a distance and making sure that I didn't get too big-headed or think I was too good for my own self or too big for my britches. And that in turn, was a reminder always to treat people right, whether I was the starting quarterback, the Heisman candidate, or the starter for the Cardinals, like still just treat people right. Don't think I'm better than them just because I have a number on my back and my name's written on it.
Right. Was there ever a moment, because it's interesting, it's really kind of one of the foundational pieces of this show is when I kind of study leaders, finding that moment or moments that maybe not necessarily an epiphany, but the groundwork was laid. So you talk about fifth grade there. Was there a moment in high school where you encountered struggles, maybe questioning your ability, like if you wanted to play to that next level? And if so, what was it or who was it that helped you with that next step, that breakthrough mentally, physically, that allowed you to not necessarily question yourself, but say, I am capable of taking that next step?
Yeah, I mean, it really always was my brothers, my older brothers. They are always giving me love. They always help me out. They're always you had the. I mean, I'd come home from basketball practice and there'd be a mitt with a ball sitting in it, and it was like, oh, I guess we're playing catch today with the baseball, and we we didn't really have these deep like conversations about struggles and stuff, but they were always there to support me and give me that confidence I needed. And then when I get a chance to to play them in ping pong. They would whoop my ass forever. And if I could just compete with them and maybe get 10 points, that was a victory for me. So I was used to getting beat. Like losing wasn't something that was brand new to me, because I took a lot of lumps for a long time from my brothers. But being able to continue to just strive to get better every time, and they were big supports for me. And even my mom, of course, always here to be there for me. I didn't have a ton of real struggles in high school. I played all three sports. I guess my sophomore year would probably have been the worst time it was for football for me. I was playing on the sophomore team. We were not very good. We played Nampa sophomore team and just got handed to us. We got obliterated by them. I got sacked like probably 12 times. I didn't complete one ball. The only two completions were to the other team for interceptions. Then I had two tackles. That was cool. I had two tackles because I went and tackled the guy. But our head coach at the time for the varsity, Steve Vogel, he saw something. He'd coached both my brothers in football and watched them as athletes, run track, play basketball. They were very athletic, extremely skilled athletes. And so he pulled me up to varsity, and it was like, wow, this is cool. I'm on varsity now. And I'm thinking, you gotta play good to get on varsity. And I was not playing well. And turns out he pulled me up because he was, one, worried that I was going to get hurt, and hurt bad, because I was getting hit, and I mean every play was me dodging guys and trying to make a play. And then he also, he didn't want me to end up hating the game of football, and he saw something, and that really probably was a pinnacle point in my life where I could have stayed on sophomores. Maybe I would have gotten hurt or beat up so bad I would be like, this game sucks. There's no way I'm doing this. But he pulled me up, so I got to go, and as a sophomore, be on varsity. And it wasn't like I was playing. I was the third, fourth string receiver. So I went and ran routes. I'd run routes against the starting defense, and I'm beating them on defense. I'm catching the ball and making plays, and they're getting mad at me. And I'm like, yo, I'm a sophomore. I've never played receiver. If you can't stop me, how are we going to beat this team we're playing next weekend? And so the seniors didn't like me that much because I was fiery and competitive. I'm like, hey, if you're going to practice, why are we going half-ass? You guys are going half. I'm going to beat you till you step it up. And so I always just had that knack to go hard. And it wasn't, so hard that I was out of my mind. It was just, hey, if we're here, let's put in the work. Let's go 100%. And so that was a big moment because I got to go up there and I was a backup to a guy named Greg Lords. His brother Chris was in the same grade as me. And Greg was just like, he was an amazing human, one of the most kind and just thoughtful and athletic guys I've ever met. And he was a real positive influence outside of my brothers for me as he boosted me up and was talking about, why aren't you the starting quarterback, man? You got all the skills, this and that. And so that was one guy that really bumped me up. But that was a moment there that, had I stayed on the sophomore football team, maybe football wouldn't even have been in my future. But Coach Vogel, who coached me in high school, and I remained really tight with him throughout the years until he just passed a few years ago. He saw something, and so I really give a lot of love and thanks to him for having the ability to see that and to pull me up, not because I was killing it and doing good, but just to kind of keep me from hating the game of football.
Yeah, and I did high school sports for a lot of years, and will always promote the importance and critical impact that high school, middle school coaches can have on young athletes, both good and bad. Because you talk about an individual like that, in order to get where you wanted to go, it takes somebody to help lift you up and, like you say, see something in you. Let's fast forward now to ASU as we're talking about leadership and leading into that magical season. So Bruce Snyder's a head coach, a great man. I really enjoyed my time being around Bruce. But that particular team, even coming into this season, there was something about so many of the guys on that roster. And again, having a chance to be around you guys so closely for such a long period of time. But I think about, Murph, Kyle Murphy, Gray Rugemer, Juan Roque, that offense, that whole offensive line, Derek Smith, Keith Poole. As I look back, like so many qualities of leadership on that team? Like, did you feel that with each and every one of those guys? Is that what made you feel like this team has something in them to do something unique and special?
Yeah, I'd been with a lot of those guys now for 3 years. You mentioned Murphy. There's Glenn Gable. Steve Bush, Juan Roque, Gray Rugemer would come in year after me. He was there. I mean, there was just so many guys. Even on defense, we added one guy in particular, Derek Rogers, that was huge in that off season. He came in and he was a man with a plan. He's like, I'm coming to play 1 year of college ball and hopefully get out of here. And he did it, and that's why he was such a force on the field, because he was so motivated. But we knew we had a decent team. We knew we had a good squad. We just missed again a bowl game, getting beat by U of A at home. We had them down. Then we lost because we thought, oh, it's over, and everybody else thought, oh yeah, it's all over. And even some alumni were on the sideline like, never forget this feeling. It's so good to beat your team, beat your rival here at home. And I'm like, look up at the clock. There's 10 minutes left, and I started telling them to get off the field, like, get the hell out of here. You guys get off the field if you think it's over. And because I knew, you just you never stop pushing and keep going till that clock is out. Because I'd done it on the flip side where other teams let down. And so we knew we had a squad. We had some great leaders on that team the year before. Ryan Wood was one in particular, fullback, that helped us form what we call the leadership committee. And it was we picked one person from each position group to be the leader of that group. And so we had to step up and be the leader to keep them all in together, to handle amongst the players little issues that would come up. We didn't take them to Coach Snyder or to our position coaches. We handled them as a team, and that's what that leadership council was for. And Bruce Snyder was a huge, I mean, the guy put us all together. Kudos to him for seeing all of our lights and bringing us together to be one big bright light. And Ryan Wood, like I said, me and a few other guys, it was our idea to have a leadership council, and he was like fully on, yes, do it. So we didn't have to take these little squabbles or little minor things up the chain to Coach Snyder. We could let them coach. And that last year it was tough to lose a U of A. We went through a few coaches leaving and a couple coming in, but we knew we had something special. And I know that, that off season we worked hard, that the start of the summer was really a monumental moment. I called it player only meeting myself. This wasn't someone that was advising me to do this. I was just like, hey, we've got a team. Let's start believing in this. And I called a player only meeting. I brought everybody into old Wells Fargo down in the depths there below where we'd go meet as a team. And I brought in one Rose, and I stood in the front of the team and I said, hey, this is what I'm shooting for this offseason. If you don't want to go here with me, if you don't want to go on this journey to get to the Rose Bowl, then it's fine. Go ahead and get up and get out of here. But if you want to go on this journey and you want to work hard and stay here all summer, put in the work we know we need to do, then stand up with me right now. And the whole room stood up. No one left. We had the whole almost 100% participation of everybody on that team, putting in the work in the weight room, out on the practice field. I would throw routes till my guys were so tired. And then we were playing 7-on-7 as a group, and I couldn't play QB, so I'm playing receiver. Keith Poole's playing quarterback. We would go out there and just have fun. We had a lot of barbecues. We weren't just all work. We had a lot of fun, and there were so many great players. Jason Simmons, Damian Richardson. There were so many guys on that team. Scott Bonderahi, Sean Swada, Brent Bernstein. You go down the line. I mean, our squad was so good. Jeff Paul, we had a J.R. Redmond. I mean, we had Explosion, Michael Martin, Ricky Boyer. We had guys that could play and make plays, and we all just bonded so well together that summer, working hard, also having fun, but keeping in mind that ultimate goal, which was the Rose Bowl, because we'd had it for 3 years. We were so good and close, but we just didn't quite have everybody to buy in. This time we bought in, and even our coaches, I don't know if they bought in until after we beat Nebraska. I mean, I really, to be honest, don't know if they thought that we could be as good as we knew as players that we could be. And that was really what made it a special thing, is as players, we knew we had a chance to be a solid team, and we leaned on each other. We trusted in each other. And what culminated was, a losing Rose Bowl team that's still the one that everybody talks about. not Van Rapper and the crew that won the Rose Bowl. It's our team. I failed to mention Pat Tillman. I mean, Pat, another guy like myself, tone setter that was undersized, shouldn't be there. USC didn't recruit him either, along with the rest of us, and we didn't get mad about that, but it was like, okay, you're going to disrespect us? Well, yeah, we got you at home. Let's do this. And that year was just super special because we all bought in and believed in each other.
Yeah, it speaks to, as we said, the number of quality humans, leaders in different ways on that roster, all the names that you rattled off there. And you talk about that magical night in September of 1996. We'll forever kind of have a unique bond and tie because that was also the night that I was blessed with my first daughter. She was born about 35 minutes before kickoff. Like I say, I was hosting pre and post game show at the time. My wife then at the time, we go to the hospital. Devin, as she is named, she's the Sun Devil baby, was born. And I know you shared this story with Craig Morgan when you visited here back in February. But you mentioned the coaches maybe not having the level of belief that you and the other guys did. If you can recap, maybe a little abbreviated version of the night before Nebraska, because we all know the hype, the lead-in with the vaunted Cornhuskers team.
Yeah, we went down there the year before and got it handed to us. I think it was 74 to 28 or something like that. They didn't punt once. I mean, it was a bloodbath. They just killed us. But we scored, I think, 28 points, if my memory serves me. So offensively, we weren't scared of them, but defensively, we just didn't quite have it. And that was why having Derek Rogers show up was so big. He's changed the tone of practice for our team because he would sprint from the other side of the field 30 yards to touch the running back every play almost. He would haul ass down there, and all of a sudden he's passing 10 guys that are going half or three quarter, and now a couple more join him. And before long, if you were one of the guys that didn't want to go 100% till the end of the whistle or even just extra because you knew you needed to, you were standing out like a sore thumb on film. So that was huge. And you mentioned the night before, everything was talking about Nebraska and how bad they beat us and how bad they're going to come in here and they're the defending national champs and blah, blah, blah. And as players, we just got sick of hearing that. And then in the meeting, it wasn't really as players, you can feel it sometimes. You can feel when something special might be brewing. We didn't know like the night would go like it did, but we knew like this is going to be different this year. We have a different team. We're not scared of them. And we felt from our coaches that they may have a little bit of doubt that this is going to happen, or they weren't 100% bought in. And so we ended up on the night before, Friday night, having the coaches leave. We asked them if we could have a player-only meeting. And we had a player-only meeting, and some guys that rarely ever would speak up in front of the team, got up, had some really good words, some heated words, and there were some tables tossed around and some stuff smashed, and we were just ready. We were just sick of hearing everything about the Cornhuskers and nothing about us. Rightfully so. We hadn't really proven ourselves, but that night was really special. I think that's when we realized, like, okay, let's bottle that. Let's wait. And then, going over the bridge, coming down, I think we were coming down Scottsdale Road to come to the stadium, and it was just a sea of red. There was no maroon and gold anywhere. It was just a sea of red going to the game. And I remember on the offensive bus standing up, or on the bus that I was on, standing up, and just like I started yelling at the guy, yelling like, "What, you're going down today?" And like the bus was, I mean, we were so amped and ready for this game because of the way we got handled the year before, but also the belief we had in each other. And it was all about Frank Kush too. Even that, there's a story about, I told him this story, and he just kind of chuckled that even before the game, I grabbed a program and was like, "What is this? We're honoring some old man that no one knows about. No one's talking about us." And I threw down the program, and I was like, I ripped it up and was kicking it, and I was like, let's make them forget that tonight is about that. Let's make them remember it for what we're going to do tonight, not the Frank Kush field, but this team tonight. And everyone in the locker room, we were fired up. And when we came out, man, it was a special, special night. Really put us on the map. Everyone, on the East Coast missed the game because they were in bed, but they woke up the next day to the news of like, oh my gosh, the ASU Sun Devils blanked the Cornhuskers. Wow. Now that was it, man. That put a target on our back, but we were ready. We didn't care. We knew we had a good team.
Yeah, it started what was, I mean, magical is the easy word, but so many other adjectives, superlatives that could be thrown out in that season because of the wild comebacks that were required, and I mean some unbelievable eye popping numbers put up by you guys offensively, and of course, as you mentioned, culminates with the Rose Bowl performance that won for the ages and left you just that short of a national championship. I think it's safe to say that loss hurt. How did that loss, if at all, kind of spurn you into the next level of what you'd be encountering in the National Football League?
That loss was really hard. A lot of guys, it was their last game they ever played. I had a feeling like I was going on. I figured I'd go get a shot to play in the NFL. But you know what it did was it made me realize how special it is when someone comes around in your life, like Bruce Snyder, Bobby Petrino, Danny Cazzetto. They saw something in me here in Boise, Idaho. Because the reason I came to ASU, they were the first team to call me in the summer. They offered me a scholarship day one. When Bruce came to our house, in the story that they tell where they came in and I said, well, I'm gonna make a decision. They left and they come back, and it was 6-7 inches of snow, and he ruined his Florsheim dress shoes and got stuck going out of our house here with Bobby. He told me something that night that it was a reason I went to ASU. Is that he said, we're building what's going to be a national championship caliber team, and we feel like you are very important, if not the key part of what we're trying to do. And no other coach told me that. So in 93, 94, 93, I was told by a head coach in the Pac-10 who coached in the NFL, you're a key component to a national championship team. And that's to have someone say that, to put in the work, to believe that, to have it culminate in really what was a national championship game. And all we did was run out of time. That's all we ran out of. We had it. We were going to win that game. Lindsey Jackson caught the ball, went down at about the 32, 33. If we had a couple seconds left, Robert Neese was going to drill a field goal. We would have gone into overtime, and we would have beat the Buckeyes. It was predestined, But to have someone tell me that at a young age, to put in the work, to believe in myself and others around me, showed me, like, hey, anything's possible if you just believe and put together that the work and the thought behind something you want enough. The universe is listening. And I have to give so much props to Bruce Snyder because it shot me onto a course that, my life from there on, I mean, it's just been so much fun. And what a decision to have to make as an 18-year-old. Was I going to go to Washington State and be in Pullman and play for Mike Price, or was I going to go to ASU and play for Bruce Snyder? Like, whoa, I made a decision that I felt here. And Coach Vogel, again, was there in the room helping me, and like influential people, my mom, my brothers, like a lot of people helped me with that decision. And look what it culminated in, almost becoming national champs, really having probably one of the best teams, one of the best teams to ever play, at ASU. It was definitely a lot of fun. And it just made me think, like having people show up, you gotta remember, you gotta be open to it and listen to what they're saying and always have belief in yourself and having the confidence given to me by those coaches. They really handed me the reins when they put me in against Oregon State. I sprained my ankle. Then they put me in at Washington State at the next half to start second half as a freshman. And then that was it. I was the guy. And that wouldn't happen today. I had some stretches where I was doo-doo. I was bad. But in that day and age, they weren't replacing you for the next kid because there's, all these quarterback schools pumping out prospects or transfer portal or any of that. So I was allowed to grow and become that leader that culminated in that last year. And yeah, we were seconds away from a national title. And Bruce Snyder really was the head man behind all that, along with some great coaches. I mean, Bobby Petrino, Hugh Jackson, two head NFL coaches that I got to be coached by as a young 18, 19, 20-year-old. Like, wow, we had some amazing coaches, and got to give props to them too.
Yeah, well, you at that point had clearly had established yourself as, um, you know, a player, a person, an athlete here in the Valley, the state for the most part. Fans just gravitated to you. So the NFL was the next step. Little did we know, or could you have known, that your career would continue on the next level in the same place that you played collegiately. And I have to, it's been a few years, I think, since you've shared this story, but take us back. You're putting in all the work leading into the draft. Take us back to draft day because, nowadays it's obviously, I mean, it's been blown up huge in terms of the coverage and everything, but you weren't necessarily quite sure where you're going to be drafted. You were pretty certain you were going to be drafted, but take us back to draft day. And I think it does speak to really, who you are, who you were as a person then, and kind of the way that you carried yourself on draft day, not like a lot of people would, knowing that they're likely to be drafted to play in the National Football League.
Yeah, that was a really fun time. Was still, going to school. I'd had a little mishap out in public, so I was, kind of under the radar, staying out of the scene a little bit. It was time to just get to work, be ready for the draft. Um, but I remember it was like family was down. We were having a lot of fun, gathering with friends. The morning of the draft, I went golfing with my dad and my two brothers. And my mom was like, "You can't go golf. You're gonna miss the draft." I said, "Mom, I'm not a first rounder." I knew that it wasn't happening. Kansas City was a maybe. Then they picked up Elvis Grbac in the free agency. The Niners, I was like, "Man, the Niners need a quarterback." But I was dubbed by Mel Kiper, which is really funny because after I started at Washington State in that second half, I played in I think 42, 43 straight games and never had an injury, never left the field. But he said I was not durable. I was too small because I was only 6'2", 195 pounds. So you got this talking head with a really lame hairdo, determining where some like putting out this word that wasn't positive. And so anyway, I didn't worry much about that. We were golfing. We'd been partying, having some fun, and I was being represented by Lee Steinberg, and Dave Dunn was with Lee Steinberg. And so Dave was out here because Derek Rogers and Juan Roque also were being represented by Lee. And so we had a hotel room at the Biltmore, and we were out there hanging out. I got back from golf, came in. Oh, man, they're still at the end of the first round. All right, I was tired. I went and laid down in the other room next door, the suite, and took a nap. I was tired. I needed some rest. And Dave actually came and woke me up when I got drafted. He tapped me on the shoulder, and I came out of my nap and was like, "Hey, man, congratulations. You've been drafted by the Arizona Cardinals." And I was like, "Whoa, what?" Like I thought I was out of there. I was ready to go somewhere else. Like I put in what I needed to do and like the lure of another city or somewhere else. And I hadn't heard much about the Cardinals. And here I was staying put in the valley. At first, it was kind of like, oh, and then after a while, I was like, wow, this is pretty nice. I got all my support. I got ASU. I got a fan base that loves me. They're going to ride with me again, hoping to see the same thing culminate that happened in the 3 years prior to that last year at ASU. And I didn't have to move. I just relocated there in the valley, and good stuff. And again, similar to why I went to ASU, because I hadn't really heard of them. I had other opportunities to go to bigger schools that had played in national championships, but I never really had ever heard much about ASU. And I thought, when I leave ASU, it'd be nice to have put them on the map or do something special. I did that. Didn't know that wasn't my main motivation, but it was like I just don't want to go be another piece or another cog in this wheel that everybody knows. I want to go and like leave a lasting impression. So we did that at ASU, and here I get another chance to go to Arizona, another team and organization that really had not had much sustained success or any success much at all in the valley since they'd been there. So it was a chance to again go see if I could do something with my teammates to make a lasting memory. And yeah, that's where it started, man. Being a pro was my dream come true. Now I was one step away from that Super Bowl, and I couldn't be happier, man. It was like, wow, I'm a professional athlete. Uh, Getting my first check, for doing an autograph signing was like, wow, I'm putting money in the bank. I think it was like $8,000. Like, oh my God, look at this. I got money in the bank. I don't have to ask my parents anymore. And it was a really big moment for me and a lot of fun. My brothers were so excited because we'd watched the NFL, religiously growing up as kids. And now here their little brother was an NFL quarterback.
Safe to say, because you mentioned it, with the Cardinals at that time had not really had much success. You have to go back to the 70s, Neil Lomax days. In his early run with the Cardinals, any marginal success even. It's safe to say that your leadership qualities, your belief system, was really put to the test, especially in those early days. One, you're coming to the next level, so you're seeing a level of athlete that you maybe only saw sparingly throughout your college days. Now the players are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, and then organizationally trying to lift this organization up. So for you, what were the early challenges that you encountered, and how did you continue to forge ahead and remain confident?
Coming out of college, I'd been educated in 4 years a lot about football. Coming out of high school, I didn't have a guru. I wasn't going to passing camps all year. I wasn't being taught how to read defenses and understand defensive line alignment that would determine the defensive alignment behind that, so you could predict what coverage was coming. I mean, I reacted. I just played. So getting to the pros was a whole nother education into like the complexities of the game, being able to go and one, now play against the best of the best and understand like those balls that would maybe be a bad throw in college that hits the ground, that ball's coming back. Those guys are going to make you pay if you make a mistake. And it was a big learning curve. It was a lot of fun to get to camp. Again, there was a big spotlight on me, and it was a lot. It was very heavy for me at the time, but I had a lot of support. Again, I had people around me that were giving me that love. Even just the fans in the valley that were like sending me positive energy. And I've had so many people that I come across are still praying for me. I pray for you every day, Jake, and hope that you're doing well. And it's like, wow, that love, you don't know it's there, but then you start looking back and wondering, how have I gone like and done all this? It's just because so many people sent me so much positivity and so much love. Yeah, there's the haters, there's people that want to spit venom at you, but that gets swallowed up by the amount of people that have sent me love and encouragement and good well wishes. And so getting to the Cardinals, I was just loving that I was in the NFL. Like, wow, here's my chance. Here's my chance to do this. But it was a learning curve. And again, back then they had at the time, they had the Saints, the hazing incidents coming out. Like, we get hazed. They do crazy stuff to you. They made you do all kinds of stuff, and you better watch out. You may put your foot into a shoe, and there's something in that shoe. You had to really watch out. So it was a learning curve that way. I got off a little bit because I was the quarterback, and the guys like the guys that were there, Larry Centers, Lomas Brown, Jameer Miller, they liked me right away. They saw the fire that I had there in Sun Devil Stadium as a Devil, and they were excited to see if I could bring some of that to this team at the next level with the Cardinals. And so, again, just worked through camp. I wasn't expected to be the starter. I wasn't even expected to be the backup. I was just a quarterback they brought in. I didn't really have an idea of what was going to happen. I just knew that I was there, time to get better. And it was hard. My first preseason game, I was overrun by nerves and like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? This is the NFL. And then I just kind of took a few breaths. And I think it was Trey Junkin, the long snapper who played for like 80 years in the NFL. You remember Trey? He came over and was like, "Yo, man, relax, man. This is just like a college game. You're in your home. Just act like you're playing college ball." And I went out. It was against the Raiders, and I thought, all right, these guys, this is just USC wearing black and silver. And I went out there and made some plays, completed some balls, and from there on just kind of started moving up the way of gaining my confidence, giving good looks at scout team, getting guys mad at me because I wasn't throwing it to where I was supposed to. I was throwing it to the open guy and like making them mad because they hey, you're supposed to throw it over here. I'm like, well, he was covered. I'm not going to throw an interception and practice that. I want to get completions. And so, again, my fire, my tenacity, my competitiveness started making guys pay attention. And then, getting a chance to play as a rookie, like I had no clue what was going on, but here it was. Here was my chance to go out. And it's all just part of that journey of having coaches that believed in me and again, believing in myself and having good support.
Yeah, and that support and your play would eventually lead to great success in the Cardinals uniform, and of course, still one of the most memorable games in Cardinals history. '98 playoffs, you knock off the Cowboys on the road. Your time ends with the Cardinals. You eventually land with the Denver Broncos, and a team, an organization that had great championship pedigree. And your time there, you experienced great success. And I guess in many ways, similar to the way your college career culminated this close to getting to the Super Bowl. Just talk about those final days, maybe that final year in a Broncos uniform and what that meant to you.
Yeah, we had that '98 season that you mentioned. It was so big for the team. It's really why the Cardinals are still in the Valley. There was a vote passed to secure the stadium funding to build a new stadium, and then 4 years post was tough. We made some bad moves, let go of some really key players. I got injured, my thumb that next year. We just had a tough go, and being a free agent was exciting. I didn't like to leave the Valley. I wanted to do something bigger with the Cardinals, but it was time for me to go. And getting to play for the Broncos was really special. This is a team that coming off of 2 Super Bowl championships, and having an owner that was really motivated to do whatever it took to get the pieces, to put the pieces together to build a championship team every year. And being the quarterback, what a place to land after Elway was greasy. He went through a little bit of struggles, had a little bit of success, and then here I was coming in to lead this organization, and I loved it. I was so excited. It was like really a chance to actually achieve that dream, to win a Super Bowl. Even though I believed it every year with the Cardinals, it was just a different feeling there because they'd already done it, and everything they did was motivated or pointed in that direction. We did. We got a game away, man. We were in the AFC Championship game, playing the Steelers, and it just didn't go our way in the first half. And then we were playing catch up, and we had a Super Bowl championship team. I mean, Champ Bailey, John Lynch, Al Wilson. We were loaded. Rod Smith. I mean, we had such a quality team. Our offense was a juggernaut. We couldn't be stopped running that West Coast offense, and I was the guy back there doing it. So even though I just barely missed a national championship, we made it to the playoffs with the Cardinals. We did do something special there again in an organization that hadn't won a playoff game in 50 years. We won a playoff game. Like, wow, that's huge. I say sometimes, like, I won a Super Bowl, but it wasn't a ring. It was actually just a victory for the Cardinals. To get the stadium to vote pass that year was just a huge year for that organization. And I think we get forgotten a little bit, that squad. Ronnie McKinnon, Larry Sinners. There were some ballers, Rob Moore, Frank Sanders, and we had a great team in that '98 season. But that's that '05 year, almost getting into the AFC almost winning that AFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl. I was ready to retire after that year. I had plans to win the Super Bowl and be gone because my body was getting beat up. It was a lot. There was a lot of pressure. It just been playing football for a long time. I wanted to go. It was time to go. But I came back for that last year and ended up getting benched. But in a way, it was a nice way to drift out. I was able to have a new appreciation for what I'd been doing, go to the games and sit back and watch and be like, wow, I've been doing this for 10 years. It's time to go. And that's when I decided after that was to retire. And I never looked back. There were a few moments where I was like, ooh, I would love to go play for Gary down in Houston because Coobs and I were,
Right.
man, Coobs was fun to play with. He was a great coach. He understood me. He knew how to put me in position to utilize my skill set to have success on the field. But, I was done. I didn't want to be one of those guys that just couldn't give up the game and kept coming back out of retirement. I'm going to retire, and then I'm back. And so I left it, and I left it with my body still intact, my mind pretty intact. Spiritually, I had to do a lot of rebuilding, but, otherwise it was a good time to leave, and I never looked back.
Yeah, so you leave the game really on your terms, and you leave it playing at a high level, which again, kudos to you because we've all seen, and It's understandable because you hear guys who play on that level, the sport, the game, the competition, the camaraderie. I mean, it's almost like a drug, and it's hard to walk away from that cold turkey. And I know you went through a period of your life where it just as simple as like, wow, what is my day to day routine now? Because previously
Hmm.
it had always been broken down categorically by month, by day of the week. Or am I lifting? Is it off season? Is it in season? And in many ways, this is kind of the full circle part of your life. You were introduced to holistic medicine at an early age with your mother, your grandmother. So you saw medicine and healing in ways that a lot of people, had not been introduced to, and how that impacted your decision to really become an advocate for something that you saw firsthand on a day-to-day basis with your own self, but seeing guys that you played with, and how that ultimately led you to make a decision to say, I'm not only going to become an advocate for this, but I'm going to push to change things. And here you are now trying to, in many ways, and for the last 4 or 5 years, be on the forefront of pushing medical cannabis and the importance and how it can help not only current and former professional athletes, but everyday people.
Yeah, I mean it really goes even deeper than just like you said, players and everyday people. It was an opportunity, knowing and being very aware of what I'm putting in my body and the effects it could have as taking Vioxx and taking all these anti-inflammatories when I was playing, and then they get pulled off the shelves because the elderly were suffering and they were dying from toxicity in their kidneys, and here we are plugging these every day, and like I could feel them. I could tell they were helping me go, but it was like detrimental to my long-term longevity. And so the opportunity was deeper than just cannabis. Of course, cannabis was the first part, but then it was the hemp oil, and the hemp was something that didn't give you a psychotropic high. It was still classified Schedule 1 with marijuana, but it was being used by these mothers to help their children who had severe seizure disorders to actually see their child and have their child not be in a state of either catatonic state and then be awake for 2 hours in a full seizure for 2 hours and then go back to sleep. These parents were seeing their children again. These children were not only just not having seizures, but they were starting to thrive. And here was this plant. It was a weed that was illegal. Why? And that really is what drove me and motivated me, along with many others. And again, having great friends around me and teammates like Nate Jackson, Charlie Adams, guys that were in touch with Ryan Kingsbury at Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web is still one of the top, most trusted, best potent brands that you can find for hemp oil. I stayed away from marijuana because marijuana does have a pretty negative connotation, and I don't think it's a great addition to someone young. It's not good for a young brain. But hemp oil, it has a little bit of THC. Obviously, it was doing amazing things for these children with seizures, but no one was really paying attention. And these mothers were risking prosecution. They were moving across the country to come to Colorado where it was legal. I felt like people needed to understand. They needed to hear this story. So we told our story of how it affected us. People started to listen a little bit, and now you see the Major League Baseball and Charlotte's Web having a partnership. You see CBD oils being sold in airport kiosks. But here's the problem with that is like, where is this hemp being grown? How's it being extracted? What's the motivation behind it? Be careful out there what you're taking. It may not be as potent as you think, and that's why being with a company like Charlotte's Web was so special. That put me on that path to understand that an athlete can have a positive influence. We can actually get behind products, not just Pepsi Cola and Doritos and McDonald's and poisons and chemicals and stuff that's going to end up giving us all of these maladies and disease and illnesses that we complain about. Well, it's all what our athletes are endorsing. So I got a group of athletes. We got behind nature. What a thought, right? Let's endorse nature and get behind what's happened for for millennium, for since beginning of time. Let's get nature into our systems and see what can happen. And that's led me down the path, not only with being an advocate for Charlotte's Web, for hemp oil, for not necessarily cannabis, but definitely if that works for you, let try it out. The other way to go, pharmaceuticals, which are necessary at times, a lot of them have a lot of bad side effects and can be very detrimental to your long-term health and longevity. That in turn got me into the path I'm on now, which has been really the true calling. And that's another form of nature that's been overlooked for a long time, for over a century here in America in Western medicine, and that's fungi. That's the fungal kingdom. And so here I am through meeting a friend, Dale Jolly at Charlotte's Web, and forming a company called Umbo. We're now on this path to again educate and advocate for people who, at first, when I was doing CBD, are like, oh, there's that pothead stoner plumber trying to push marijuana. No, I'm not. It's CBD. You don't get high, and it's good for us. We have an endocannabinoid system in our bodies that we just figured out in 1998, and so we have receptors for these components and compounds in nature. This is just an education process again on another entirely forgotten food group in mushrooms that we're now embarking upon, and it's super fun because you look back 8 years and people are like, oh man, Plummer was in front of that with a lot of other guys, a lot of other forward thinking athletes. And here I am again now, not being heard by everybody, but more people being curious and wanting to take the health into their own hands, hearing my story and understanding like, maybe I should check this out. Maybe it's not like taking an Advil, because I took an Advil about a week ago when I had a really bad headache. Man, it was gone like that. I hadn't taken an Advil for a couple years. Now you look at me playing all the ball I played, beat up as much as I was. I feel like I found something that's helping me, and I want to share that story and let people know that these are compounds and organisms that are from nature that we don't know much about, that we're learning more about every day. And so through Umbo, we're a cause-driven company trying to help people initiate a positive path towards wellness, and that is through not just eating and taking cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi, turkey tail, oyster, shiitake, whatever mushrooms you're taking. But that's through lifestyle choices too, and understanding what you put in your body is going to directly reflect how well you feel, how you go about your day, how you get your sleep, how much good water you put in your body. This is all about nature, but these mushrooms can definitely initiate that and help balance out your systems that may be out of whack, whether that's your endocrine system, your nervous system, your digestive system, your cardiovascular system. These organisms are very close in relation to us, and they have a way to help us kind of function better. And so I have to tell people, I have to share this, because when you get a story coming back from somebody who's had a profound change in their lifestyle and they are now thriving and feeling better, and it's a heartfelt message sent to you, man, what an amazing path I've come to now understand. This is my calling. This is what I'm here for.
Yeah, it's funny as I look at it, Jake. You're quarterbacking in a different way now. And the playbook
Yeah.
that you're looking at and learning from is the education regarding mushrooms and the benefits of them. And I see you go from celebrating touchdowns to now celebrating stories like this, when you get that feedback from, like you say, parents or athletes, just everyday people, again, the benefits that they're experiencing as a result of this.
Yeah, and again, we're very similar to marijuana and CBD and hemp, two very similar plants. One completely different, would get you high, and is known to, has its whole history of reefer madness and people talking bad about the devil's weed and all that. And then hemp, that had no psychotropic effects and had so many benefits. So now we're talking about an entire kingdom. I like to call it a queendom, because I feel like it's the mother that knows how every plant and every bit of nature functions, because of the mycelial network that lays the groundwork for these fruiting bodies that come out of the decomposition of basically the waste that we create, the trees falling, the all the stuff we put out in the world. Um, I'm differentiating between functional mushrooms that you can eat, that are sold in grocery stores, that are on counter, that are on shelves in a lot of Whole Foods, Sprouts, all these stores. Our bars, our Umbo bars, are sold at REI, and I'm differentiating now between that and psilocybin and psychedelic mushrooms. So there's again the same kind of process we went through where it's like, hey, you want to try a mushroom bar? And people are like, I don't want to trip out. Can I eat this and go to work? Like, yes, I'm not going to give you a mushroom bar that's got psilocybin in it. That would be illegal since they are still classified. Same Schedule 1, they're illegal. They've been decriminalized in Colorado, which means you can have them on your body and you don't risk prosecution, but they have not been legalized. And I don't know if they ever will, but they're being used and researched through a group that we've helped start, unlimitedsciences.org. It's a nonprofit centered around the responsible research of psychedelics. They have a call center. So if you have questions about anything, even functional mushrooms, but if you have a question about that, you can call and you can get informed on what's out there. And this is important because these are not party drugs. These are not, woohoo, let's take this and go off into the woods. Like, these are adult medicines, adult compounds that you need to be real responsible with. And so that's what we're now differentiating again between psychedelics and functional mushrooms. And so it's a fun. It initiates a lot of awesome conversation, and I get to talk to a lot of people who are curious, but they don't know. And I don't know much. I know very little about this, even though I know more than the common person. There's just still so much to learn, so much that these organisms can do, not only for our health and wellness, and psilocybin being researched for addiction, for depression, for PTSD, for anxiety, having profound effects on quality of life. You know, this is the start of something that could help with our mental illness here, and mental illness issues and mental health issues we have as a country. But it's still it's a long journey, a long road. We're initiating this, and it's fun to be a part of this because, you know, people are seeking this. People want a better way to live. They want to feel healthy. They're tired of feeling sick and tired. And if they can check us out and you can initiate a little bit of feeling better, like back when I was dealing with a lot of pain, just a little decrease in pain could be the difference between getting me on the pickleball court. You know, just that little bit can go a long way. And so again, it's a super fun journey. I've met so many great people. Del Jolly, my best friend, best pal, who helps run Umbo. Rashad Evans, who's a UFC Hall of Famer, who's our other partner in this, and then a whole slew of people that are just joining together. And it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this journey, and always open to talk to people about it and see where it goes.
Father of three, now a business owner, advocate. And for more information, for people who are interested, intrigued, wanted to get more information, they can go to, is it umbo.com, Jake?
Get Umbo, GETUMBO, getumbo.com. Check it out. We got a code for anybody out there, KRAY10, if they want to get 10% off any of the orders. We have capsules for energy, no caffeine, no stimulants, and capsules for rest that are non-drowsy, that are all natural. We have tinctures. We've got a couple tinctures, a charge and recharge, that are mushrooms that are grown out at my farm, at Michael Love Farm in Fort Lupton, and extracted in the lab in Longmont. So it's mushrooms that I've helped, you know, cultivate and put in a lot of intention and a lot of love to help people feel better, to initiate, like I said, a positive intervention on your health. So this is exciting. I mean, I'm not just speaking on Umbo. I'm speaking about mushrooms. I'm out growing them too, and helping my crew out there, you know, bring this a quality domestic organic supply to whoever is interested. And yeah, check out getumbo.com. We got a great newsletter, got a lot of information. We're making mushrooms for anybody that wants to perform better and recover, and you know, take their health into their own hands.
Well, I know I'm going to get my MycoRest order in here before the end of the day, so I'm
smart man,
definitely
Kevin.
anxious to try that. So,
all right.
Well, you're passionate about it. There's no doubt in my mind that you guys will be successful in this venture, and looking forward to seeing all the benefits that that people can reap as a result. All right, time
sure.
for our final segment. It is our Pay It Forward segment, and this is where we give our guests an opportunity to talk about a charity or an initiative that they're involved in. So with that, I'll give you the floor, Jake, and let you share a cause, initiative, a charity that you'd like to promote here.
Yeah, I'm always open to talk about the Jake Plummer Foundation, which I haven't been doing a lot of work with, but we got it back reloaded, revamped, and getting ready to do some events here in the next year. That's what I started there back in 1997 when I got into the league, the Jake Plummer Foundation, and did a lot of good stuff. But I'll speak upon what I'm up here in Boise right now, Boise, Idaho, at my mom's, getting ready to have a camp called the Plummer Skills and Thrills Camp. And so the Skills and Thrills involves getting kids out there. It's a free camp. We're introducing to them in the past, we've introduced ping pong, one wall handball, badminton, pickleball, frisbee golf, obstacle course. You name it, we're going to put stuff out there for these kids to have something other than the sport of choice that they're being pushed towards or maybe specializing in. We're giving them some games to play that are all good at building your skills for your sport, your hand-eye coordination, your movement, your coordination, your spatial awareness. And it's all fun. It's just based on fun, because when I played, even at the highest level, I was serious, but it was still fun. It was always fun to go out and compete and play. And through the Skills and Thrills is run through the Idaho Youth Sports Commission. And they're doing great work here to educate and get coaches certified in the Positive Coaching Alliance, to make sure that they're taking these young kids who are very impressionable and can have one bad coach and maybe never play sports again, making sure that the coaches are doing it right, are not pushing these kids too hard, and even educating parents too on how to handle winning, how to handle losing. And the Idaho Youth Sports Commission, run by Tim Brady, Jim Everett, a lot of great people here in Boise. They're doing great work to make sure that our youth are having good experiences playing sports at a young age. That's who's helping run this Plummer Skills and Thrills Camp. So I'm going to give my love to them. You can check them out online. They're doing a lot of good stuff here in the Valley that was so special to me here in Boise, Idaho, at my upbringing, my roots. And, the Plummer Skills and Thrills, we're moving it to a couple different cities, and hopefully going to bring it down to Colorado one of these days to introduce to some kids down there. But basically just how I grew up, playing a lot of different games, whether it was ping pong, golf, tennis, or making up our own games in the backyard. It's about play. It's about having fun. And that's really what the Idaho Youth Sports Commission is all behind and promoting. And I'm 100% behind their cause and their mission.
All right. Well, Jake, we could sit here and talk, I feel like, for hours, man.
Yeah.
You, like I say, you and I have had this kind of kindred spirit link dating back to the days at ASU. So I thank you for that. A special shout out to a guy that I know you're fond of, like myself, one Doug Tamaro, for bringing us together.
Dougie.
So one of the great humans. So listen, good luck this weekend. Thank you for carving out some time for us here at Breakthrough Chronicles. Be well, and we will talk again soon, my friend.
Awesome, Kevin. It's great to see you, man. Thanks for having me on the show, and much love to everybody in the Valley. Go Devils, and peace, love, and mushrooms.
Peace, love, and mushrooms, indeed. Special thanks to Eric Ruby, fine producer here on Breakthrough Chronicles. We'll see you on the next episode.